So greetings of the day. We shall start with the description regarding the details of the next drug which is included in Arogyavardhini Rasa, that is the Shilajatu. We'll be discussing a few points about the Shilajatu. We try to correlate with the points which are more related towards the clinical aspects. We'll try to analyze the things which is more clinical, and we'll not be going into the detailed enumeration of the method of preparation, method of collection and other aspects. We'll be going possibly more detail concerned only to the clinical perspective of this particular drug Shilajatu. Of course, this is one such a drug which has been very extensively been praised in all the textbooks, including the Samhitas. So this is one book, or this is one such a drug which has been observed right from the very ancient textbooks. Might be from the Samhitas. We have a elaborative description from the textbook of Charaka Samhita. We have an elaborative description even from the textbook of Sushruta Samhita, and we have it in many textbooks related. Of course, in the Rasa Granthas, it is very detailedly been explained, the method, occurrence, Shodhana, Marana, the clinical utility of it. Everything is been totally been explained, and no doubt it's a therapeutically very active drug, and it's a miraculous drug as claimed by Acharya Charaka, wherein it is been said as one such a drug which can cure any disease. There is no such a disease which cannot be cured with Shilajatu. So this is the praise what you have from the various textbooks. To give an importance, Shilajatu is one such a drug, even to see from the physical excavations where you have from the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro civilizations, where you find even in these civilizations there are zones of life which was been existing. So the deepermost zone in the geological survey has also shown a bitumen sample there, which signifies the people of those days as well knew about the knowledge of bitumen or the Shilajatu, Asphaltum Punjabianum, whatever it is been named as. And the synonyms from the textbook very clearly explains that it is an exudate. It is an exudate from the rocks. It is an exudate which is oozing out from the mountains because of the high temperatures. Possibly the decayed plant substances and the debris underneath, mixing with some organic and inorganic elements, oozes out in the form of bitumen, and people have taken it as Shilajatu. And this particular thing is being done with a proper Shodhana, and it is used directly. Marana or the Basma of Shilajatu is not very routine. It is very seldom done, but still the textbook explains about the Marana procedure. But Shuddha Shilajatu is being highly praised in most of the situations. And this is a chief drug of action which you have in many drugs, as you see in case of Chandra Prabhavati, Arogyavardhini. Many such formulations do have Shilajatu as one of the prime component, and that is the reason why the action is about. The controversies and problems regarding Shilajatu is also very high because of the availability. What are those problems? What are the things which makes it so problematic? We'll be enumerating in further few minutes, like what are the problems in identifying the Shilajatu and all. Of course, it has been observed sometimes even the tar or the dambar which is being laid for the roads is being sold out in the market in the name of Shilajatu. People have taken the dambar or the tar which is put on the road, and it has been boiled with Gomutra to get the smell of Gomutra, and that is being sold out in the name of Shilajatu. And the poor body digests it, and also even that unwanted substance is having some therapeutic property. So it is having a really wonderful effect in the human beings. But still there are many sources, because Himalayan ranges is one of the best source for Shilajatu as claimed in the textbook, and it is so. Almost now since 16 years I am going for the Himalayan ranges for the geological survey. Many times I find the Shilajatu there. Of course, The time when we go, it is not in deep summers, but still we do get very small quantities of Shilajatu, very small quantity. I don't say it is bulk. Might be in the deeper ranges, people claim like you have lots of Shilajatus there which can be collected, but I haven't seen it personally in large scales. I have seen it in small scales. I have documented them as well in small scales, and we have collected it and give it to the patient as well to see the clinical benefits of various Shilajatus. Of course, the method of preparation, there are various methods of preparations, how it can be done. The textbook speaks about bhavana with various herbal juices, and then it should be given to the patient. Based on that bhavana, the therapeutic efficacy of the drug will alter. So, or the reasons. We'll come into those details as well now. And before that, let me enumerate in just about the classifications, because this is very important based on the clinical presentations. The first one what you have from the Rasagranthas is the Gomutra Shilajatu and Karpura Shilajatu. The Gomutra Shilajatu is the black bitumen and the Karpura Shilajatu is taken as a potassium nitrate. According to the Swarupa, Gomutra Shilajatu, which is Akalodbhava, and it is also Patita. This has been occurred from the oozed out from the mountains. It is again having two types, that is Sasattva and Nissattva. Whereas the second variety is the Karpura Shilajatu, which is Usharodbhava, that is Apatita, which has not been oozed out as well from the mountains. Whereas according to the Sattva, this is very important because this gives significant clinical properties as claimed by Acharya Charaka, and also from Rasaratna Samuchaya, where he explains about the Hemagarbha Shilajatu, Taragarbha Shilajatu, Tamragarbha Shilajatu and Ayogarbha Shilajatu. The Shilajatu which is being obtained from the mines of gold, it is named as Hemagarbha. The one which is obtained from the mines of silver is called as Rajata or Taragarbha. The one obtained from the Tamra or the copper mines is called as Tamragarbha, whereas the one obtained from the Ayogarbha, that is the iron ore mines, is called as Ayogarbha. Added to this, Acharya Sushruta and Ashtanga, Rasendra Chudamani and Rasakamadenu have included Nagagarbha and Shvangagarbha as well. Added to Hemagarbha, Taragarbha, Tamragarbha and Ayogarbha, they have added even Nagagarbha and Vangagarbha. So based on this, based on the Udbhavasthana, they are having their therapeutic properties. Based on their Udbhavasthana, they are having their therapeutic properties, and based on that Lakshana, you are supposed to prescribe it to your patient. Say for example, when we go across to the textbook of Rasaratna Samuchaya, second chapter, Shloka number 111 and 111 and 113, 111 and 113, wherein he explains about the nature of the Swarnadrija or Swarna Shilajatu. Of course, the feature, the presentation, he tells it is red in color, it is oozed out like a gold, it looks heavy, it is gold in appearance and all. But added to that, I am more focusing now in the present discussion about the guna of it, which has been again explained in the chapter of in Rasa Jalanidhi, where he tells it is Madhura, it is Swalpatiktam, it is Japa Pushpanibham, it is Snigdham, Ghana, and it is also having a Gairikaba, it is just like, looks like Gairika, and Shushitam and Kanchanasru, just like oozed out from the mountains of a gold is oozing out. It is Katutikta Vipaka, and it is specifically Vata Pitta Nashana. This particular Shilajatu, in case if we can procure the Swarnadrija Shilajatu, according to Rasajalanidhi, it is Vata Pitta Nashaka. It is specifically Vata Pitta Nashaka, and also it is Katu and Tikta Vipaka. It is Katu and Tikta Vipaka. This is also an important phenomenon, but it's not into a total clinical practice where you get about lots of abundance in Swarnadrija, because occurrence of the gold mines, at least in India, is moderate. I don't say it is extensive, it is moderate. So on that grounds, we haven't used clinically specifically with that of the Swarnadrija, but the textbook speaks about Vata Pitta Nashana. It speaks about the Vata Pitta Nashana. Whereas Ayurveda Prakasha has explained about the Swarnadrija as it again it is a red colored bitumen, and it is a Madhuram, Katu, Tikta, Sheetalam and Katu Vipaka. So this is a feature as explained by Ayurveda Prakasha in 4th chapter 96th shloka. And this is, I don't want to go into the details of it, just as an information I would like to give about the Swarna Shilajatu, because I haven't used it or haven't seen Swarnadrija. You have some reddish tinge, you have something like a honey-like appearance in certain samples of Shilajatu. Might be that is being taken as Swarnadrija, I don't know, because it looks like honey. When you keep it across the sunlight, it is golden yellow or it is golden color. But exactly I don't know whether it is to be named as a Swarnadrija. The second one is a Rajatadrija, which is obtained from the mines of the silver, which is Guru. And also Ayurveda Prakasha explains it is Pandura Varna, Shita, Katurasa and Madhura Vipaka. So this is with Madhura Vipaka. This is Ayurveda Prakasha, 4th chapter, 97 shloka. And added to that, Rasa Jalanidhi has enclaimed the list of indications of the Rajata Adrija as Shashi Shankha Varna, and also it is a Katu Amla Rasa, it is a Sakshara Katu Amla Rasa, Vidahi, it is Shita, Madhura Vipaka, it is Bhari, it is used in the disorders like Pandu, it is very good in Pittahara, it is used in Meha, Amajirna, Jwara, Pandu, Shosha, Pliha and Vata Raktahara. Added to this, you have the Guna Karmas which are being explained of Tamradrija, which is obtained from the mines of copper, as claimed by Rasaratna Samuchaya 2nd chapter. The Guna Karma of it is being explained in Rasa Jalanidhi, where he explains as Mayura Kantopamam, which is having multiple color or a chaya like that of a blue color, because Mayura Kanta is bluish in color, just like you have that of Bornite. And you have Chashapakshi Varna, and it is specifically Sa Tikta, Katu Tikshna, it is Lekhanam, it is used in disorders like Meha, Amlapitta, Jwara, Shoshahara. The next thing what is being explained by Ayurveda Prakasha 4th chapter is Mayura Kanta Varna, Tikshna and Ushna. So these are the features which are being explained for Tamra Garbha. Loha Garbha is very important because this is the possibly the one which we are getting here in India at an outset. I say possibly this is the one which we are getting, which is Gugulu Sankasha. It looks just like Gugulu, and it is a Tikta, Lavana, Katu Vipaka, and it is a Sarva Shrestha, Rasayana Param, and Tridosha Vinashanam. This is a reference from Rasa Jalanidhi, whereas Ayurveda Prakasha speaks about Jatayu Pakshivat, Tiktha, Lavana, Rasa, Katu Vipaka, Shita, and it is Sarva Shrestha. This is Ayurveda Prakasha 4th chapter 98 shloka, where he speaks about the Loha Shilajatu. Next you have that of the Vanga Shilajatu explained by Rasa Jalanidhi, which is Tikta Katu, Sandra, Trapu and Prasutam. It is Trapu Prasutam and Trapu Varna, Gandha, Shotha. It is used in the disorders of Shotha, Meha, Jwara, Shosha, Amlapitta like disorders. The last one what you have as the Sisaka Shilajatu, which is obtained from the mines of lead, and it is Mrudu, it is Ushnavirya, and it is Tikta, it is Kushma Varna, it is Katu Rasa, Teja Varna and Virya Pradha. This is from the textbook of Rasa Jalanidhi. And based on its Swarupa, as you find with the Gomutra Gandhi, which is having the typical smell of Gomutra, and based on that it is being taken for the study. Of course the Graha Lakshanas and all are being explained in the textbook, so according to that you can definitely go through. What I mean is specifically whenever we speak of these various types of Shilajatu is Shilajatu is possibly the asphaltum or whatever we take as the debris, the organic material which is being sedimented underneath the earth. Like you have some plants, trees, everything, and fungi or any other organisms will totally attack it, and it is being converted into a sort of a biological fuel, something like a substance of that kind. And many times this happens in case if it is anaerobic. Most of the times it is anaerobic, and after some times it converts into a sort of a semi-solid or thick paste like content, which is called as bitumen. So this bitumen, it is being excavated or it is being oozed out because of the high temperatures. because as I said you, most of the times it turns as anaerobic, and you have some holes which are being drilled because of some reason or something like, or you have some air gaps or grain boundaries of the rocks which is above it, then you find this Shilajatu being oozed out from that area. In my recent geological survey in Andhra Pradesh, I could get in certain places very small scale availability of small quantities of availability of Shilajatu oozed out from the rocks, where I could document it. And this particular Shilajatu is specifically, as I said, it's a biological fuel, possibly it's a biofuel, which one observation what I have seen is when you put some UV light, you have a UV ultraviolet torch, when you place it on this freshly oozed substance, it gives a sort of a fluorescence, or it gives a sort of multicolored way. As you see, when you add some amount of kerosene or petrol in water, and you find a sort of a multiple rainbow like when you put some light on it. So in the same way, we could appreciate there was a glow which has been coming out. Might be it's a fluorescent glow or something like, but I need more study on this to see in multiple samples if at all this happens. But this doesn't happen in the one which has been available for us today in the market. It doesn't glow with when we put the UV light over it. So this is one such observation which I could do in my study. And added to this, once it is being fermented, underneath the earth, there are possibilities like it is having organic and inorganic materials being merged into it. It's something like a cocktail, mixture of so many organic and inorganic molecules or substances. Wherever you have Swarna mines, or where you have the gold mines, so the possibility of the gold mixed up into the Shilajatu makes the property. When you see the Gunakarma of Swarnadrija, it is something like a miniature of Swarna. It is a miniature. It's not exactly the Swarna Guna, but it is a miniature of Swarna. Similarly, the Rajata is also the same. In case if you have the silver mines surrounding and you have some inorganic materials of silver oozed out or mixed up into Shilajatu, the qualities of Shilajatu are being appreciated. Similarly, Tamra and similarly Loha. Loha is considered as one of the best in respect to the Shilajatu, and of course India is one of the hub for the iron ores. You have lots and lots of iron available in this mud, and because of that, the availability of iron into the form of the bitumen availability is quite high. It is quite high. And you can definitely increase the property of it, you can increase the strength of this particular drug by having various situations. Like one such example is what you have with that of the Shodhana. When he explains about the Shodhana, he gives you the reasons why you need to do this Shodhana and what is the benefits of doing this. What is the benefits of doing this? And whenever we speak of about these benefits, it is very interesting to note like what they are doing and how they are doing. See, I don't want to go with the details of the Shodhana where he explains about Ksharamla Gojalair Dhauta. The method is being explained. Triphala Kwata is being used, Dugdha is being used, Kshara, Amla and Gugulu, all these substances, Bringaraja is also being explained in Rasaratna Samuchaya. So many of these drugs are being explained. And based on this, the characters of the end product is very significant. Very commonly what I have seen in most of the colleges or most of the practitioners is they process it with the Triphala Kwata. They take the ore form of it, they mix with Triphala Kwata and use it. Definitely Triphala Kwata is a very good rasayana and it is giving its attribute to the final product. But there are many other methods of doing Shodhana here which is to be understood. Where he speaks about Kshara, where he uses the Kshara can be used. Whereas in Ayurveda Prakasha, in Rasaratna Samuchaya he speaks about Prakshalana with Kshara, Amla and Gojala, that is Gomutra, by which it becomes Shuddha. Whereas in case of the same Rasaratna Samuchaya shloka number, second chapter 117 shloka, where he speaks about using the Gokshira, Triphala and Bringaraja. So the various ways how it is being explained, and by using in this particular way, the Gunakarma of these Shodhita Dravyas are being highlighted in the end product. they are being highlighted in the end product. Whenever you speak about the drugs which are being used of this kind, if it is a kshariya substances, like you have the kshara jala, you have gomutra, all these are substances which are having a kshara guna, they attribute that tikshnatva to the end product of shilajatu. So such shilajatu which is done with the shodhana of kshara jala or gomutra, it is been widely to be used in the clinical conditions wherever you expect a sort of lekhana property in the body. A lekhana property in the body. Added to that, kshara is a beautiful substance because it is therapeutically very active, just because of the reason the human's consumption of ksharia or alkalis is comparatively low. We tend to take lots of acidic substances. We seldom take the alkali substances. So it is highly recommended. Even in cases of malignancies, people have asked to take lots of alkali diets to see that the cancer cells doesn't grow in alkaline media. It doesn't grow in alkaline media. So whenever you want to treat such disorders where you expect a alkalinity, where you expect a lekhana property, where you expect a sort of a tivrata in the end product, in the shilajatu, then you need to do the shodhana of shilajatu in gomutra, kshara jala or any of such substances which acts as a lekhaniya, which acts as more lekhaniya. So such shilajatu I am using in the clinical condition, like in cases of prameha, I am using it in conditions like PCOD, I am using it in fibroid uterus, I am using such a shilajatu specifically in malignancies. I am using that shilajatu specifically in malignancy, where I expect a sort of a lekhana guna. It is having lekhana guna, and added to that it is much beneficial to see that that particular drug is removing the excess mala. It is removing the excess mala, and this property is very much essential, and that is the reason again to clear off this mala, the unwanted, the apachita dhatu, the unwanted substances of the body are to be scraped out or to be removed out from the body. So this is the phenomenon why shilajatu is again one of the choice of drug to be added in Arogyavardhini. Because Mala Shuddhikaram is one of the Falashruti in Arogyavardhini. So similar Falashruti can be observed with shilajatu. Whenever you have apachita dhatu formation in the body, as you see the malarupi dhatu formation in the body, you are supposed to give such a shilajatu. Which shilajatu? The one which you have done the shodhana with the gomutra, you have done shodhana with that of the kshara jala, the one which you have done with something like tankana jala or anything like that. These drugs are to be given for the shodhana purpose. And then the potensified shilajatu in this way is really going to help them a lot. It is going to help them a lot, and it is going to become therapeutically active. It is going to become therapeutically active. Whereas in case if you are using the substances like that of kshira, you are using the substances like that of triphala, then it becomes more rasayana, because triphala is also rasayana, and also kshira is also rasayana. So these drugs will definitely benefit you in case if you want to have a rasayana property. In case if you would like to have a rasayana property. Triphala will make the drug to have a vatanulomana, srotos ramsana, and it is going to open the channels. So what I do wherever I want to give shilajatu as a rasayana swarupa, not lekhaniya specifically, the inbuilt quality of lekhana is there. To a milder extent or moderate extent or to a severe extent, it depends on the way of shodhana you go with, the choice of drug you take for the shodhana. So based on that, I can never prepare SOP that this shilajatu is having only this guna because I have done it. No. Based on the drug which you have selected for shodhana, based on the drug which you have taken for marana, for either of the rasa substances, the therapeutic properties vary. The therapeutic properties vary. The taratama bhavas can be achieved in the clinical perspective. And added to that, what we have done is this particular shilajatu, whenever you process it with the triphala, whenever you process with that of kshira, then it becomes very potent. This particular drug becomes very potent, especially in form of rasayana. Say for example, I need to give shilajatu in a case of kshaya. I need to give Shilajatu in case of Kshaya. Then what I do, I give this particular Shilajatu which is being done Shodhana within Kshira or Triphala, with Kshira or Triphala, and then I administer it to the patient. Then I administer it to the patient. So this is how I try to modulate the methods of Shodhana and the methods of doing the procedures. Like in case if you are unable to do the Shodhana, you might say, sir, I would have purchased it from outside. I don't know how the company would have done it. Then what I ask is, you take that Shilajatu, you give Bhavana with the suitable drug. Like you want to do it with Kshira, you want to do with Gomutra, whatever. You can do it in your clinic and then you can prescribe it, or you can, once it dries up, you can give it to your patient. So this is another alternative, because the textbook explains you about the way how the Shilajatu can be given in various conditions. And based on that it can be practiced. And added to that, I would like to highlight some very few points about the Shilajatu, how it is being taken. It has been reported basically around 85 minerals in the ionic form, including the triterpenes and aromatic carboxylic acids, as well as humic acid and fulvic acid. A similar substance from the Caucasus mountain and Altis mountain, where it is been called as Mumijo in Russian language. It is been named as a Shilajatu, and the one in India, it is from the Himalayas. Shilajatu, also known as a Shilajit, or it is called as a Mumijo or Momia. It is a thick, sticky tar-like substance which is having a color ranging from white to dark brown. Sometimes it is found even in Tibetan mountains and Altis mountains and Himalayan ranges very commonly. It is a basically Mumijo is a word, it's a Greek word, and which has been mentioned in the works of Aristotle and Avicenna, and it is considered as a recipe as an antiseptic, and it also called as a general stimulant properties. It is also used in a wide range of people, the tribes and the scientists. The people have accepted that it is having a medicinal property. The one which has been found at various zones. One more problem which we have is you have to consider certain things which is very important. Is you have another substance of a similar kind called as ouzokerite. It is called as ouzokerite, which is almost similar to that of Shilajatu, which is used as an adulterant, because this is abundantly found and it is very economical. They substitute it to Shilajatu. Ouzokerite is a substitute to Shilajatu. So this particular Shilajatu, how do you differentiate it? One thing is, Shilajatu easily melts even when it is in your hand. When you touch it for some time, you find a sort of a stickiness there. That is nothing but a sweat. It is something like the oozing of the Shilajatu. It becomes damp. It is becoming damp, means it is melting at room temperature in your hand with the amount of body temperature you have. And it is having a typical smell of bitumen. Whereas ouzokerite melts at 164 to 169 degrees Fahrenheit or 73.3 to 76.1 degrees centigrade. So this is the temperature where ouzokerite can melt. It can melt. And once it is been cleaned and it is been purified, extracted, the Shilajatu becomes a homogeneous black glossy, just like Guguluvat. It is just like Guguluvat, and the specific density of Shilajatu is approximately around 1.1 to 1.8 gram per centimeter cube. So this is one particular thing which can be observed, like the temperatures which is lower than 20 degrees centigrade or 68 degrees Fahrenheit, it is solidified. It is totally solidified. And when it is warm, and when you touch it with your finger, it starts to melt. And based on the geological and the biological origin, it is having numerous trace vitamins and amino acids. Mumijo or Shilajatu like substances, it has been even identified having small concentrations of glycerol derivatives, and it is having lots of medicinal properties. The other constituents of that of Shilajatu is been varying. It is been varying based on the availability or wherever it is having the organic constituents. Few of the organic constituents are the benzoic acid, hippuric acid, fatty acid, resins, wax gums, albinoids and vegetable matters. Whereas the inorganic constituents, we have calcium, potassium, nitrogen, it is having silica, aluminium, magnesium, sodium, and also the trace elements from which mines it is being extracted with, wherever you have extracted it. And added to that, further works have been on Shilajatu, which is showing like 80% is humus, the decayed plant material acted upon by the bacteria and fungi, and also most noticeably you have the fulvic and humic acids predominantly, and analysis yield, this is one of the marker for the identification of Shilajatu. And also it is having Shilajatu is having various other trace minerals like antimony, cobalt, copper, iron, lithium, magnesium, molybdenum, either of the substances are being observed. So these are few of the ingredients where you have with that of Shilajatu. And you have many of the formulations related to Shilajatu in Ayurveda, like you have that of Arogyavardhini, Purnachandra Rasa, Shilajatwadi Loha, Induvati, Yogaraja Rasa. So many of such drugs are being explained, and this is one such drug which is having extreme praises from the textbook. It is having extreme praises from the textbook, and it is also said to be can be given in most of the disorders. This is one such drug which is being praised, and it can be given in most of the disorders. Let us come across a few of the references from the textbooks, like what you have, the guna as explained by Rasaratna Samuchaya in chapter number 2, 110 and 111 shloka. He tells Shilajatu, it is specifically helpful in treating the disorders as that of Jwara, Pandu, Shofa Shamanam, what he speaks about. It is used in all infective conditions, all the substances in the body which is making a sort of an infection or a fever, the temperature what is there, because this particular Shilajatu is acting at a multiple level. It is also been extremely useful in the disorders as that of Pandu, where you have the disorders of the hemopoietic system, and it is also addressing the situations like that of Shotha, and it is extremely beneficial in case of Prameha. So among this category of drugs, whenever you speak about, whenever you do the Shodhana with that of Kshira, you find its benefit in this way, or with the Triphala. The Shodhana of Shilajatu with the Triphala or Kshira, then it is highly beneficial in warding of disorders of these kinds like Jwara, Pandu, Shotha. Even you have the few of the references where you do with the Dashamula. So there you have very specifically to be used in Shotha. It is, in case if it is done with Gomutra or Ksharya Jala, it is extremely useful in the disorders like that of Prameha. And the same drugs like the Tivra or the Tankana Jala or Ksharya Jala, it is extremely useful in the disorders like Agnimandya. And it is specifically used as a Medhonashaka, disorders of the Medas. This is Apachita Dhatu Vruddhi, which is Malarupi Dhatu Vruddhi, which is also seen in many of the clinical conditions, as you see in case of thyroid abnormalities, hormonal imbalances, or you have the obesity related issues, or any of these conditions. So in these conditions you are supposed to do the Shodhana of Shilajatu with Gomutra and then given to the patients, wherein it acts as very good in Medhonashana. The next one is in Ekshma. In case if you want the Ekshma quality, then you need to process or Shodhana with that of Kshira. Shula Prashamana, again you need an alkaline substance to do that. Gulma in malignancies of the abdomen, extremely beneficial drug in the malignancies of the abdomen. So in this Gulma pathologies also we are doing Shodhana with that of Gomutra and also Triphala. Sometimes what we do is we mix up Triphala Kwata, Gomutra, Shilajatu and Gugulu together and boil it, make it into a paste like consistency, then evaporate it, make it in the form of small tablets. Might be you name it as Shilajatu, Ghanavati or whatever. But it is extremely useful in such conditions where we expect some amount of Lekhaniya Guna, especially in conditions with adenocarcinomas. We find it's very much beneficial. This particular Shilajatu is extremely beneficial in the conditions of adenocarcinomas. It is beneficial, but it's not extremely beneficial with squamous cell carcinoma. It is extremely beneficial for me in my observation with the adenocarcinoma like conditions, especially related to that of the abdominal malignancies. Definitely this is having its impact on Pandu in the sense again it is related to Yakrut and Pliha rogas. So again this particular Shilajatu, it's extremely useful, and when you for having this therapeutic action to go on the Yakrut and Pliha on the Raktavashrotas, the Shodhana which we advise is it need to be gone with, it should be performed with that of Bringaraja. If you do the Shodhana with that of Bringaraja, it is extremely useful in any of these conditions. Added to that, it is also beneficial in the conditions like Udara Roga, definitely because splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, or you have the ascites or any of such conditions are being very well addressed with these presentations, whatever you have with that of Udara, Rutshula, Ama. Yes, Ksharaya or Deepana Pachana quality is mandated to have with that of Amahara. So based on that you can do the Shodhana, and it is being used in Amapachaka or Hama Shamana, and it is also useful in all dermatological complaints. It is because Rasa and Raktavashrotas are being addressed, you find it is very much beneficial in all the conditions. It has been extremely beneficial in all the dermatological conditions. It is also been praised in the textbook where he says about it is extremely useful in Dehavada and Lohavada. It is also useful, it's equivalent or more potent than the other substances of Rasavarga, Uparasavarga, Parada, Ratnavarga, Lohavarga. It is extremely benefited in all these conditions. It is benefited to ward off the Jara and Mrutyu. It is specifically used for warding off the Jara and Mrutyu. It is very specifically to be used in most of these conditions, and it can be utilized. It can be utilized to have more benefits. Shilajatu Prayoga, it has been given in the form of Rasayana, where he is mixing with other drugs like Kantaloha, Vaikranta and all, and it is being administered. So based on the experience and the demand of the patient's necessity, we can go for such administrations. Similarly, when we look into the reference of Charaka Samhita first chapter, where he explains it about the Shilajatu, he explains it as the four varieties, and also it is Rasayana, it is extremely beneficial, it is Vrushya, and also to ward off all the disorders. It is specifically to increase the qualities wherein it can treat either one of the vitiated dosha or all the three doshas together. You need to give suitable bhavana and then give it, One such a very, very interesting thing what you find in most of these conditions, whenever you find in most of these conditions, or this is one such a drug. In the very next shloka, in the first chapter of Charaka Samhita Chikitsa Sthana, 61 shloka, where he is explaining about the method of how the Shodhana of it to be, or potensification of it to be done, wherein you mix it up with various herbal juices and it is being used. Here Acharya is asking you a very typical presentation, where he speaks about lohai churni krutei saha. He is asking you to mix the basmas, and unfortunately people consider like Charaka did not explain Rasaushadis. This is extensive way of how Charaka knew the knowledge of Rasa Shastra. There are n number of references wherein Charaka Acharya has explained about the Rasaushadis and their Gunadharma and their clinical utility. Of course, the Sampradaya of the Rasa Chikitsa has been established more evidently from the period of Rasaratna Samuchaya onwards, or Rasaranava onwards, where you have the detail of the enumeration, but it doesn't mean like a Charaka did not explain it. It is also being praised. This is one such drug which is extremely praised by Charaka Acharya and is allotted this chapter with huge significance of Shilajatu in it, where he explains you to mix up some basmas. He is telling the churna of the loha in the sense the metallic basmas. The metallic basmas can be mixed up with Shilajatu and it can be given to the various clinical conditions where it makes the person to have the Dirghamayu, Sukha. It is going to ward off the Jara, Vyadi, and it is going to do the Deha Dardyakrut. It is going to stabilize the body. It is going to see that the person doesn't land up into waxing and waning of the health issues. It is also beneficial in the disorders where it acts on the higher functions, like it is going to increase the Medha Shakti, Smruti Shakti, and also it is been definitely useful in case if you go for a milk diet throughout the day, when you go for a milk diet. And this is one such a thing wherein he asks about the dosage. Based on the dosage, if you can give it to the person, of course he speaks about 1 karsha is the minimum dosage what can be given, and of course many times we can try up to give to up to 10 to 12 grams per day for sure, but I am unable to give with a higher dosage of Shilajatu in my practice. I am unable to give a higher dosage. I am able to give up to 12 grams of Shilajatu per day. Whatever the Shilajatu is available to the best of our knowledge, which has been collected, Shodhana has been done in a proper way, which was being discussed now, the methods of Shodhana for the therapeutic efficacy, and only then it has to show its impact on the humans, on various illnesses. So this is about the few of the ideas related with that of Shilajatu, especially used in the disorders of metabolic deformities, specifically in Medhovyadis. And even though it is a lekhana, it is rasayana in property. Even though it is a lekhana, this particular drug is extremely useful in many of the disorders, because all the malarupi dhatus which we have discussed now are to be corroded or to be removed from the body. So these are few of the ideas, these are few of the opinions what we can do with that of Shilajatu and how can we understand it. There are many factors which we can discuss, but this particular drug is been having a lots of controversies in respect to the availability. So that is the reason certain people have a difference of opinion in using Shilajatu. Of course, if it is not available to us, it is our mistake that we need to procure it in a proper source and use it. It doesn't mean like we have to avoid the drug. It doesn't mean like we have to avoid the drug. A person who is into the industry of gems, like the gemologist, travels miles and miles of kilometers beneath the earth to get a small gem. Might be it's a small diamond, and he sells it out as in market. This is the effort what a businessman has done. As a Vaidya, what did we do? How much of we did the survey? We just want to sit in the clinic and prescribe the things. This is not okay for the Vaidyas. It might be okay for the doctors, where the drugs are easily available because they are lab made, they are chemical processed, and they can be prescribed. But for we Vaidyas, it is up to us to explore the nature. We have to be a part of the nature. We cannot blame the science. We are into it. We are a part of the science. We have to be into it, and we have to explore the nature in this particular way, collect the drugs in that way, administer it to the patient. If you don't find the response, there is a mistake in you to understand the subject. So analyze it in a proper way and then go for the detailed exploration, which will give you lots of benefits, and that is how we need to show our survival. And this is the way how I say Rasa Shastra is one such a clinically impactful subject. It's clinically impactful subject. Only if you are into these departments of Rasa Shastra or Vaisheshya Kalpana or any of the departments you are, never mind. You should have the technique of preparing the medicines by your own. You should have that very nature of preparing the basic medicines by your own, because the method of Shodhana and Marana you do, so is its impact on the clinical perspective. In case if you are doing it in a generic way, the impact is also very general. It's not specific. It is not specific. So you want to be more specific, you want to hit the bullseye, you should prepare your medicines and you should start prescribing it to your patient. Only then you can expect the response in your patient.